Transpod, Canada's first commercial Hyperloop company, as our first official premium partner. Founded in 2015, Transpod is developing the next generation of affordable and sustainable ultra-high-speed transportation. Joining us today is Dr. Ryan Janzen, the co-founder and CTO of Transpod. Dr. Janzen has contributed to advances in aerospace propulsion, physics, and new innovations for cities. His work has been the topic of numerous international lectures, media interviews, and scientific publications. Now, if he is there, I will be handing the microphone to Dr. Janzen, co-founder and CTO at Transpod.
All right, thank you very much. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you for the introduction, and happy to see all of the energy and people, the good work that's being done among all of the teams over there and across Canada and beyond. And really, the international scope is really part of what is going on with Transpod, and I'd really be happy to share some of what's happening lately with this overall development. And as you can guess, as you heard, it is a quite large project. So it started in Canada and has reached quite a few other countries across with collaborators and on the industrial side and some of our staff in different countries. It's a very multidisciplinary project. So that is, for me, quite exciting, and for quite a few people, it's quite interesting to work towards the leading edge of what this field can be. And first, a bit about myself. Maybe like many of you who are designing something new, I come from a background as a child, inventing different things, and really that spirit of trying to make something new and different that hasn't been done before is really core to what we're trying to do with Transpod. And so, and I'll just bring up back here because I'd be happy to show you quite a bit of what's happening lately. So Transpod is very interesting because it is a new type of system. And so we are currently working on that, the core design, the vehicle design, and the infrastructure design for this Transpod line. Right now, we are developing actually two large test tracks. And so one of them is in Canada, one of them is in France. So the one in France is actually a half-scale, half-diameter test track that has the construction permit approved, and we're just preparing the early works for that. In Canada, the one in Canada is actually quite long and quite large. It's going to be located in Alberta, and just between Edmonton
Dr.
and Calgary.
Janzen, apologies for cutting you off. Is there supposed to be something that's being shared on the screen currently, for we do not see anything?
Yes, so I'm going to share it on the screen in just a moment. But you're
all right,
right now.
Just to make sure.
Thank you. And so this this test track in Canada is actually going to be quite long and longer than the test track for the competition. And I think one of the most interesting things is that we're working quite closely with the government of Alberta on this project. And so it's quite a large infrastructure project, and it's going to be quite an exciting test bed for this new system. And one of the most interesting things, I'll just show you on the screen now, just a little bit of how that works. So if you can see the screen again now, so we'll go back to this. So one of the most interesting things about the Transpod line in Alberta is it's actually not Hyperloop. It's actually a new type of ultra high-speed transportation building on those previous designs. And it's part of the evolution of what you could call tube transportation over about a century. That was proposed as a kind of a vacuum train. There have been the Swiss Metro, there's ET3 and Hyperloop, and now we have Transpod. And so this is actually quite a radically different technology, different system, even though on the outside it looks similar to what you've seen before with tubes and the low pressure environment. But the way the vehicle works is quite different, and actually is with an aircraft-like flight control system and quite a few other new innovations that we will actually be announcing to the public quite soon, so in the next few months. And so this is quite exciting because it's really going to show how this system has worked. There have been a lot of people asking about this, and so this has been part of the work that we've been doing for the last 3 years to develop this new Transpod line. And so as we develop it for really international locations, so it's kind of a made in Canada technology, the Transpod line. So we'll be announcing that, actually unveiling it in Canada, but it's really designed for an international scope. And so really designing it for different terrains when you're talking about North America and also Europe, Asia, Middle East, and many other places too. And so we're actually working with the both the private sector and also governments in a few different locations with the early works of this project. And so it's really about getting the design right. And so that comes from really key innovations both in the vehicle side and in the infrastructure. And so it's really interesting managing that from kind of an aerospace point of view and sort of an infrastructure point of view, because it's a very interesting team, both with people who are experts in physics, civil engineering, electrical engineering, and many other things. We have a nuclear physicist working with us. We have quite a few different architects and designers working on this project. And really, some of the key points that are really coming from sort of quite new breakthroughs. And so that's really what I try to focus on is having things that really solve the problems in a very fundamental new way. And part of it is sensing and control. So that aircraft-like flight control system, all of this has to have multiple redundant fallback safety systems, of course. And part of that is electrical and computational. Part of that is mechanical fallbacks. The funny thing is, even in a nuclear power plant, you have to be inspired by that, where they actually have, during emergency shutdown, you have the control rods that go back in the reactor, and they actually design it in case gravity stops working. so they can fall in place, but they actually assist them with pneumatic and hydraulic actions. So in case gravity stops working, you can so that's kind of the level of care that has to be taken in how you design such a system when human lives are at stake. And so it's really interesting looking at the really fast feedback control. So we're really designing this kind of system to be seamless for a passenger, but also very seamless in its control. And that takes very sophisticated algorithms. And so I'll be explaining more if there is any interest in one of the new breakthroughs is valence flux. And you can actually read about that online if you want. And so that's one of the new, it's kind of a sensing of sensing. So it's kind of a little bit meta in that way. So some of these very interesting algorithms are making the system work, but also really low level feedback control. And you have to be inspired by the space shuttle program, where for many years they would be they'd be so careful with the design of the systems that would drive the space shuttle that they would not even use a compiler to compile the code. They would actually they would use assembly language and really do it at a very low level. And it's kind of that level of attention to detail that is really key. And then of course you can have aerodynamics is a very important part of what we're doing. This is a vortex shedding and kind of hurricane force winds, and all of the structural vibrations, and there's so many different aspects that are on the engineering side, but also on the kind of human-centered side too. So the inside of a Transpod vehicle here, the different configurations that we're working on, and it's really neat to be involved with quite a few of the people on our team that are doing really the economics of the system, the environmental aspects, and even architecture and landscape design is really key. And so making this really designed so that it's not just the type of vehicle that people will want to use now, but really will want to use in the future once once the full system is certified. And so even station design. Let me just actually play a. There we go. Let's just show you a little bit about one of the station designs that we've been working on. There are actually a few different locations around the world. This one happens to be in Toronto. And so this is actually a multimodal station. And so I'm just going to skip through here just a little bit to show you just quickly this type of a hub where we actually are designing it kind of at the intersection of a subway line, as well as some actually public transit, other forms of public transit, so streetcar, bus, bicycle parking, auto parking, and so on. So it really is designed to be really factoring in the practicalities of how you would make a practical transportation system that attracts a good number of passengers. And so you really have to be inspired by the way it's really done with massive infrastructure projects. And that's the kind of work that we're doing, kind of on the civil engineering side, transportation engineering side, and but really having quite interesting design as well. And so what this is in a way a mix between an airport and a train station. And so the train station, as in the kind of high frequency station that you would see in Europe or Asia, where vehicles pull up very frequently. And so this is a Transpod station, and actually when you see these vehicles pull in here, that's actually in regular air pressure, so atmospheric pressure. That's just a barrier wall, but it does do a docking procedure, and so passengers are unloading on. There's another door on the other side, so there's unloading and loading, and so this vehicle is actually built so once it accelerates and goes through an airlock. So it's really designed to be a vehicle that is quite flexible. So it's kind of like an aircraft where we can have reconfigurable seating, and we even have a cargo version. So we're really looking at sort of the passenger flow models as well as cargo flow models. So this is actually a different version of the Transpod vehicle that is based on cargo, so standard pallets that can be loaded in. So that's kind of being designed at the same time. And so all of this is really important, where we're working with both with really leading engineers, economists, and really bringing the design together, but also working at the regulatory side. So we're working with the European Union and in Canada on certification of the Transpod line. And so it's going to be very interesting once we work towards that. And so actually we have meetings in Brussels for the EU, and so on the federal level in Canada too, for certifying this system. So that's really key to get it right, both for passengers and cargo. And then really looking at the financials too. So all of the design is really multidisciplinary. And here you see one of the designs that we actually were doing in Thailand. So we actually, at the federal level in Thailand, we were commissioned to do a study of a transpod line there too. And it's amazing how much infrastructure is being built in South Asia right now. And with the population that's there and the amount of travel demand, it's very impressive. And so yeah, that's really interesting. Looking at a lot of worldwide cities that have congestion, and so really the transportation side, it's kind of key to look at how we connect with other modes of transportation. So how regular people and cargo will connect, and so then if I just show you. Really, how this is built. It's kind of interesting to see the type of congestion that's there. And so this is where we're really working with large construction companies and governments to try to solve some of these problems. And when you really see the issues of climate change that are going on, when a lot of that the fossil fuel consumption is really involved with transportation. And so that's why it's kind of key to really look at how we can offset airline travel and make a system that really works. So that's what a transpod line is. And it's really interesting to see some of the work that is being done by the different teams here. And I really kind of want to kind of not only talk about transpod, but really just kind of give a lot of you have been doing really good work and kind of advice from some of my experience here, and I think all of you have a really interesting potential that is quite unique to each of you individually. And I think one of the key pieces of advice that I would give is really focusing on in all of your studies. Many of you are students, and then beyond, kind of thinking what comes next, and really in whatever you do, focusing on the things that really you can do in a way that is unique and you can do better than anyone else can do. And so it's key to learn many new skills and really then focus on really where you can make the biggest difference and things that you can do in a very unique way in whatever discipline of engineering or other disciplines. That kind of focus really helps. And that's the same spirit that I try to have with Transpod. So the whole point with Transpod is to do something better than any other design has done before. And it's going to be very exciting to reveal to the public in a few months what that new latest design is. I'll let you in on a little secret that a lot of the previous pictures that you see here are really the older design, and meanwhile we've been working on quite a new system. And that's when I say the Transpod line, you're going to be quite surprised once we actually unveil that to the public. And so I'd like to also just point out, many of you might be interested in what's next for you after the competition or the different projects that you're working on right now. And I would say that there are many different interesting possibilities that we're trying to set up here with the Transpod project, both in Canada and we have many new people overseas that are joining this. A lot of leading experts. We have quite high. We're very picky about who we choose, but it does end up being a very vibrant atmosphere where we have people who are really leading experts from around the world, and a very vibrant multidisciplinary atmosphere where we're doing some pretty awesome stuff. And so I'm excited to be able to show that to you and many other people in a few months from now. I would suggest that you follow Transpod on social media. You can get some updates about that. And also, I'm happy to announce that we will be initiating a global challenge where it is actually a series of really challenging problems and puzzles and very difficult brain teasers that really go to the different disciplines of aerospace and electronics and programming, and so really to test the knowledge of some of the best people. And so that is actually going to be released soon. So also keep on following social media about that, and it'll be interesting to see what responses come in. So that is really to try to engage with and engage with all of you and other people around the world, and be part of this very vibrant project. So it is a pleasure to meet you all, and I would like to open it to any questions.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. For anybody watching now or in the future, you can find Transpod's links in our website under our partners segment. And I will be beginning the Q&A session with a question of mine. If I understood correctly, one of the key differences of Transpod's pod is that it works with air intake. Does that also mean that the tube it will be going inside won't be pressurized?
No, the tube is under vacuum, so it's depressurized, yes. And so it's really a combination of using those techniques together to get the aerodynamics working correctly. So it's definitely some supersonic aerodynamics that we're dealing with shocks and turbulence as well. So it's quite interesting on the aerodynamic side. But yes, basically the tube is depressurized. And it works together with all the other aerodynamic features. That's right.
I see somebody raising their hand. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Chas?
Oh yeah, that's right. Thanks. I really appreciated your presentation. It was really good. I was wondering whether you think there will be a push for big companies to buy smaller Hyperloop startups. I saw that Virgin Hyperloop bought like a smaller company a few years ago, and so I think, do you think there would be a push for larger companies to buy smaller startups like Hero?
Yeah, I think things will change over the next few years. So that's a very good question. There's a few different possibilities back and forth, but it's really it's really a matter of getting all the infrastructure projects underway, because behind the scenes, what's going on is quite big at the government level and the private sector level. So so yeah, definitely there's quite a bit that might be coming soon.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I see a few more raised hands, so I suppose we'll continue. Oh, 3. Okay, 2. Sam?
Hi. I'd like to say that was a very impressive presentation, first of all. And second, I had a question about your cooling for cooling different aspects of the pod, because I know in a vacuum that can be pretty difficult. So I'm wondering, is that tackled with a refrigeration system, or you know, just kind of generally, how do you do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do have a liquid cooling system. We do have also some other chilled systems for superconducting parts of the overall system. And yeah, we also have thermal storage. So so yeah, there's quite a few parts of that come together.
Okay, awesome, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, I see Peter.
Hello, my question to Dr. Janzen is, how does the Transpod vehicle system, what is the, my question is, how is the system guided and supported at low speeds, especially in the station infrastructure, and I guess as it accelerates to cruise speed?
Right. It's thanks for the question. It's in a way there are a few parallel systems that work together. Um, at all times, it's actively controlled, so there's always active feedback control of the different axes, and so that is using it's a kind of a powered active feedback control system. The thing is covered in sensors, and then in terms of the actual forcing systems, there are different ones that yeah, they work in tandem and influence a little bit more at different speeds.
Sorry, could you comment possibly on what types of mechanical systems are at play in terms of actually supporting the vehicle at low speeds?
You're actually going to see that. So right now that's confidential, but you're actually going to see that pretty soon once we announce the whole. See, we'll actually show the public how this is all working. So yeah, it's quite good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. I'll be looking forward to that then. Thank you.
And I see Krista, so go on ahead.
Hi. My question is not a technical question, more along the lines of job opportunities for individuals like us who are all interested in Hyperloop. So I know these Hyperloop companies are more kind of hiring very like seasoned individuals in their field who have a lot of experience. So what advice would you give to us to kind of make ourselves appear and make ourselves more marketable to Hyperloop companies if we're interested in having being part of the industry as their career?
Right. Yeah. I think one of the most important things, and that this might be different from some other companies that I've seen, but I really try to make sure that we all have a very, at least on the Transpod side, you know, the most amazing. It's really recognizing the most amazing talent, and so sometimes that talented people are not always the ones who have the most degrees, or not always the ones that have, you know, 40 years of experience working in something. And sometimes some of these skills really come from trying things, and I try to recognize that when people are building things and tinkering with things, you know, even starting from high school or from childhood. And so some of those innate abilities, kind of like, you know, sometimes playing a musical instrument, you know, it makes these kind of virtuoso pieces that people that start from age 6. Well, then sometimes there are people that start soldering when they were 6 years old, that kind of thing. So, but whatever a person's story, it's really looking at really like, and for me, it's not about looking at the resume. It's about looking at what you can do and what you've done so far, especially what you've done yourself. And I really try to probe into you know, your own, like, you know, showing pictures of your own work, and or some code that you've done, or whatever you've worked on before, but just showing something that is really impressive, especially something that where you can say, okay, I did this part, rather than, well, I was sitting there at the table while a bunch of people were doing this impressive thing. But if you just show some amazing things that you've done before, that's key.
Cool. Yeah. Kind of just a follow-up question. So, I myself, I'm not an engineer, but I very much love working with engineers, and I love the business side of tech. So, would you say there is like room within Hyperloop companies for like people like myself who kind of want to work with tech people, but not on the tech specifically?
Oh yeah, definitely. So that's, and that's, I can't speak to. I know that there's, especially since the Transpod project, we have a bit of a like I try to put aside Hyperloop companies because some of them do different things, whatever. But here we try to have a very good focus on all of those different disciplines, and they really all mix together. So people who are doing financial analysis, arranging for infrastructure projects, arranging for a lot of the business development, architecture, landscape design, many different things. Those are all very important. Yeah.
Cool, awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Great. So thank you for coming to our virtual showcase. We're glad to have Transpod as our first premium partner, and we have reached our time limit. So I'll be handing it off to Shunethra for UTHT's presentation.